それじゃあちょいと失礼。
今の視線はフェイクか。待て貴様。
ああそうだ、紫。
You might not recognize the story. An underdog teenager followed by a harem of girls who battles in a high school tournament while using magical powers. Honestly, it's a generic plot. That is probably the most cliched premise in anime history. So whether you like a well-established romance story, school life, cute girls, or battle tournaments that involve magical powers, here is a list of the top 10 anime where the main character transfers to an elite school and becomes overpowered. Now as for the irregular Magikai and Trinity 7, I will not take those two into the list for this one, so before we begin, be sure to subscribe to our channel and click on the bell icon, set us all to be notified about our latest videos.
じゃあ、俺が制御できる魔力の一部見せようか。
すごい密度です。嘘、こんなに濃いの
At number 10, we have Wise Man's Grandchild. The first thing you need to know is that Kenja no Mago is indeed an isekai anime. A salaryman unexpectedly dies and is reborn into another world. Like many isekai animes, it's a world full of magic. The great sage Merlin happens to find this unnamed salaryman who was reincarnated as a baby. Merlin names him Shin Wolford and takes him home to raise him as his own grandson. Shin soaks up everything he and his makeshift family teaches him, including enchanting and sword fighting. Shin becomes 15 and an adult in the eyes of the world, but suddenly everyone's hyper aware that he's way too powerful and doesn't have enough common knowledge of the world. So, what did they decide to do? Well, send him to school, of course. Well, at school, Shin easily makes the top of his class, falls for a girl named Sizzline, fights demonoids, and gets into all sorts of situations due to being a bit too oblivious. Evil looms, and it's up to Shin to deal with it all, as the seemingly most powerful mage currently out there, aside from Merlin. Well, that's the story of this anime. Nothing new here if you want a true isekai, and nothing that's more fleshed out. It's probably not the anime for you. Kenja no Maga is a different kind of parody isekai anime, and one that's sure to cause some rifts between people who love it and hate it. But as we say, you've got to give it a go before you know. Number 9. Undefeated Bamut Chronicle. The story takes place in a fictionary world where there are ancient weapons named Dragride that are ancient mechanical weapons. 5 years ago, the protagonist named Lux was the prince of the Empire, and he was also known as the strongest Drag Knight. The Empire was destroyed due to a revolt. Now Lux is known as the weakest undefeated, the Drag Knight who doesn't attack. Due to some reasons, Lux ends up entering a school that raises Drag Knights, then falling into a girl's bath. And what do you know, it's the most important girl in the kingdom. He then has to fight her for some reason to gain entry into a girls-only school to learn how to use his mech. Let's not forget that he is the biggest badass in the kingdom and single-handedly overthrew a regime, literally a legend among people. This is the story. Not bad though. If it was a little more serious, I think it could have been an anime that would please more audience than this. One problem is how ridiculous things end up, and how all the girls want to be with the protagonist so badly. But if you think about it, it's very common in the harem anime genres. Not saying that it explains why. I think if a harem is built in the correct way, it can be pretty good. Number 8. Freezing. The story for Freezing is set in a semi-futuristic world where humanity is under threat by interdimensional aliens called Nova, and young girls, augmented with superpowers named Pandora, are tasked with fighting them. It's actually about a Pandora girl named Sadalizer, who doesn't want to be touched by anyone because of the trauma she had in her past. But then she gets to see a transfer student called Aoi Kazuya. She starts to get a feeling for Kazuya and let him touch her body. Normally, she nearly killed people who touched her. Wait, let him touch your body? Oh, please don't take it the wrong way. This is not a hentai anime. Alright, back to the plot. The story is pretty interesting. Girls and guys take on roles to use somewhat interesting abilities. It takes place in a school, from the eyes of a young male protagonist, based on makeup of how the roles are set. It's normal to see younger males pairing up with older females. A typical fanservice harem anime was easily revealed when the main roles were given to sexy teenage girls with giant erection fetishes for younger boys. They attempted and accomplished well to have a good amount of action and shonen aspects, which I found the most blatant factor of why this anime was good. Number 7. Tokyo Majin. The story revolves around a group of youngsters, each one of them having their respected influence, as they all have different strengths, weaknesses, powers, and personalities. It seems to be a pretty cool cast. You have the silent boy no one really knows about, the strong and fierce delinquent, the protective girl with healing powers, and it goes on. They're fighting to kill weird monsters. It's like you've jumped right into a game that together, they're with your party. This is an anime that is pretty confusing yet has enough action, shonen, and other stuff that makes you want to keep watching. First episode makes no sense, but if you watch the whole thing, you will love it. Trust me. I mean, well, maybe not love, but you'll definitely enjoy it. Number 6. The Unbreakable Machine Doll. Our story takes place in the early 20th century, where science coexisting with magic has come together to develop living objects that have their own personalities. Fast forward a few years, and the story follows a young puppeteer by the name of Raijin and his machine doll, Yaya. The two must work together to achieve the title of Wise Men at their academy, a sort of king capable of almost anything. The only problem is that due to Raijin's poor grades, he ends up in the second last for qualifying in the Battle Royale, out of thousands of students, and only the top 100 students can participate. At first, the plot focuses on Raijin trying to be the wise man by winning the Night of Walpurgis, the festival, held by the Puppeteer Academy he was enrolled into. Originally, our hero was driven to be a wise man by the need of vengeance, where he vows to kill his brother. Instead, as the series progresses, Raijin was thrown around into the family feuds, interfering with automation production in the world, and entering a mess of harem with almost all the girls in the series. Number 5. The Daily Life of the Immortal King. I have low expectations for Chinese anime, as they don't have a high production level historically. Out of all the Chinese anime I've seen so far, I can say this one certainly has come the closest to traditional Japanese anime in how they handled production. The story of this anime is pretty mediocre and it's cliche. I don't really mind that though. That said, I can't say the story is good, because it's really not. Anyway, spoilers ahead. The story is about an immortal dude who can clap anything in his vision in one shot, and defeated a major threat to the city in one shot of 50% of his power. He changes people's memories to make it look as if this other dude does everything, and he does nothing. A beautiful, strong girl, as always, falls in love with him for his insensitivity? I'm not sure, but these scenes are pretty well written, so I'm not going to comment. Overall, the main character is a fucking overpowered dude who can do anything. Now those who have watched this anime, please tell me in the comments below, can this guy defeat Saitama? Number 4, Seraph of the End series. In this anime, a mysterious virus occurs and kills every infected human over the age of 13. At the same time, vampires appear and take the remaining children, including the children of Hyakuya Orphanage, under their wing, to the great dislike of our protagonist, Yuichiro. The children are used as livestock for vampires. One day, one of the siblings, Michaela, convinces the orphans to escape from the vampires. Michaela stole a map from a noble, which he's convinced will lead them to freedom. Unfortunately, this noble vampire, Farid, was just fooling around with the children by letting Michaela steal his map. Just before the children can make it to the outside world, Farid kills the majority of the orphans, letting only Yuichiro escape. This event is basically what feeds Yuichiro's hate for the vampires, and his desire for revenge after Yuichiro's escape. He ends up joining the army to pursue his goal, and this is an enjoyable show, and a good example of a great vampire anime. If you like dark anime, this one is for you. Number 3. Tokyo Ravens. This show is about a teenage guy named Harutaro, who can't see spiritual spirits like his family. Then, he runs into his childhood friend and the Onmyuji. Drama starts from there. Afterwards, he moved to Tokyo and attended a school to hone his Onmyoji skills. This is where the plot starts to fall apart. During the few episodes of the series, it started off with action, explosion, and magic. However, instead of continuing the action, the plot decides to throw a long, laid-back school life series. It's a nice touch to show their school life and how normal teenagers interact. Okay, it might just be your typical good versus evil run-of-the-mill plot, where magic was involved, but unlike the typical run-of-the-mill kind of thing, this has romance. It involves an incest where it was among cousins, and it has a lot of suspense as to how each climax comes about pertaining to spiritual disasters and those kind of scenarios. However, the whole plot was all about Harutaro and Natsume. Well, it may be overhyped, but then again, seeing Natsume's dedication towards Harutaro basically makes this plot really good, or good enough. Personally, I love this. Whether it's because of the laughable, lovable everyday scenes, or the dramatic action scenes, Tokyo Ravens is an all-around masterpiece in my eyes. Number 2. Full Metal Panic. This series follows a member of the Mithril organization, Sosuke Sagara. He has been assigned with the task of protecting a high school girl, Chidori, from terrorists and other bad people. To do this, he has to enroll in her school. Of course, when Sosuke is a stiff with no experience or knowledge whatsoever when it comes to socializing with other people, trouble is predestined to arise. The story of this anime series is pretty good. In one moment, you're watching an intense and serious battle situation where giant robot fights it out with futuristic technology, and in the next, you're watching a really good high school comedy. This series changes between these two a lot, and it's well done, because you get a mix of genres, varying from mecha to high school to comedy, and it's all at its best. This makes the story really enjoyable. There's one flaw, however, and that's the open ending of the series. But then again, it has a sequel, so I'm okay with that. And number 1 goes to The Classroom of the Elite. The story takes place at senior high school, a top-of-the-line prestigious school where the students are almost guaranteed success in life. Here, students have freedom to do as they please, and they are given a monthly stipend to fund their every desire. Senior high school appears to be a paradise, but underneath the surface, only the best students get treated well. D-Class is a class where the worst students are placed, and here we have our main character, Kiyotaka. Kiyotaka is a student known for getting 50% on all of his exams, but as you know, he is a badass main character. I love this kind of anime the most. The only thing that has me worried is that it ends up being just another 12-episode series. But hey, maybe we'll end up getting a sequel in the future. We'll see. Alright guys, that's it for today. Is there any anime that you think we missed? Be sure to leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like, share, and definitely don't forget to subscribe. And as always, I'll catch you later. See you in the next one.